Good morning, students. In our today's session, we'll see the type, last topic of our chapter, that is gauges. So, gauges is a most important part in manufacturing. Most of the time, gauges are used instead of instrument. So, after manufacturing, all parts must be checked to ensure that they are in a specified limit or not. So while manufacturing, also we have to check whether the manufactured part it is in specified limit or not. So that's why, to check manufactured part at every stages, the gauges are used. And the gauges is just gives information to us whether our job are in specified limit or not. So that means whether our part is accepted or not, we have to accept it or not. That means gauges does not provide any value for us. It just indicates that whether the part is accept or reject. So gauges are used for mass production. Instead of measuring dimension of every part, gauges are used to quickly check whether manufactured part is accept or not. Then gauges determines whether the dimension is oversized or undersized. That means if suppose if we manufactured um, shaft, one of the shaft, then or bearing. So inner diameter is 40 mm. So with the help of that gauge, we just conclude that we check inner diameter is correct, either undersized or oversized, with the help of by inserting the gauge in it. So this is the gauges which determines whether dimension is oversized or undersized. It does not give any idea of amount by which the dimensions differ from design value. That means the uh, design value is there. And gauges does not gives us any information about or amount by which the dimension is differ from our design value. Inspection with gauges is most fast process, and it can be used by unskilled worker also. So gauges are generally used, and there is no any special training required to give to worker. So how to handle it? So it is very easy to handle, and that's why the gauges are most commonly used during manufacturing, and it is also used for mass production. So this is all about gauges. Then advantages and disadvantages of gauges. So gauges, first, these are the portable device. We can easily port from one place to another place, and one shop to another shop. Very easy to use, that means no any tedious work to do for gauges, and it is very easy to use. It requires very less time. So just by inserting gauge into the job, we can check whether the job is to be accept or reject. So it requires very less time, no any requirement of external power source. So that, like battery or power supply, it does not require any external require. Next, does not requires any calculations. That means gauges, many instruments, if we use instrument, then there is some calculation is to be done. But with the help of gauges, there is no need to any do any calculations. It just gives us information whether our job is accept or reject. Next, it is less costly and easily available in market. After that, it can be used by unskilled or semi-skilled worker also. So these all are the advantages. Then disadvantages. uh, there are only two disadvantages of our gauges. It does not give any information about the amount of size variation of component. That means gauges just gives us idea whether our job is accepted or rejected, and it does not gives any information how much amount it get differ from basic size. After that, they can use only for that part components for which they are designed. That means there are if according to construction there are the different types, and the design gauges are only used for particular applications also. That's these are the two limitations of our gauges. There are different types of gauges are there. So according to construction, there are different types like limit gauges, then ring gauges. These are the two types of gauges. Limit gauges, it also called as go and no go gauges. So let's see. So these are the limit gauges, and go no go gauges, most commonly used gauges for checking manufacturing part. It is whether it is in specified limit or not. For checking of whole limit gauges are called as plug gauge, and for checking of shaft limit gauge called as snap gauges. So limit gauge again divided into two type. So limit plug gauge and limit snap gauge. These are the two types of our limit gauges. So with the help of gauge, if you want to measure or if you want to check hole, then we use limit plug gauge, and if you want to check shaft, then we have to use limit snap gauge. So these are the limit gauges.